The movie begins with a bald-headed mechanic who has a cross tattooed on the back of his head named Bradley. It was known at the time he had just been fired by his boss due to the lack of customers who came to his workshop. Worse yet, on the same day, he then discovered his wife Lauren was having an affair with another man after Bradley saw her talking to a man on the phone. His conviction was also strengthened by the red kiss marks on his wife's neck.
I've been seeing somebody.
Now, get in the house.
After ordering his wife into the house, he then vented his anger by destroying his wife's car. Inside the house, Bradley then asked her how long she had been having an affair. His wife then admitted that she had been having an affair with another man for 3 months. She did this because when Lauren miscarried, Bradley was always busy with his work and had no time for her. Hearing this, Bradley, who realized that he had been guilty of neglecting his wife, finally forgave their mistakes to each other and intended to live a new life. After being fired from the workshop, Bradley intends to work with a man named Gil who is a drug courier. Hearing this, his wife disagreed with his decision. However, Bradley was adamant that it was not easy for him to get a job quickly with the current challenging economic conditions.
Tired of getting the goddamn skin milk, and this won't be forever, I promise.
8 months later, Bradley started his job as a drug courier. He delivered packages to drug dealers in an apartment and returned home. His family's economy began to change. He could now live in luxury and had moved into a bigger and grander house, by which time Lauren was pregnant again. While making out with his wife at home, Bradley suddenly got a call from Gil asking him to come to his house. He then rushes off. Once there, Bradley was introduced to Gil's new friend Eliezer. Eliezer is a dashing man with dark hair and owns a large-scale drug network in Mexico.
Bradley, it's my top runner.
I'm one of the men who will accompany you during the pickup, and this is Roman, the other.
Eliezer came with 2 of his men, Roman and Pedro. Both of these men have very strong and large postures like bodyguards. Eliezer told Bradley that these 2 men would accompany him while he was on duty. However, Eliezer's idea was rejected by Bradley because one of Eliezer's men named Roman looked like he was high on drugs. Bradley thought that if Roman went with him, he was worried that it would cause trouble for him. Eliezer defended his men and said that he had trained Roman. Gil then convinces Bradley to take on this very important business assignment, and is promised 3 months off when the baby is born. In the end, Bradley accepts the offer on the condition that he will lead the mission and Eliezer's men must obey him. Both parties agreed. Bradley and Eliezer's men were soon on their drug-dealing mission.
We're good.
Roman, look at me. If I say dump the package, what do?
Dump.
At night, they arrived at a dock. Bradley and Eliezer's men were about to begin the task of retrieving the medicine package placed on the seabed. The 3 of them entered a small yacht and sailed out to sea. Bradley and Roman helped her retrieve the medicine packets. After that, the yacht drove back to the dock. Bradley suspected that the police would ambush them while they were sailing on the yacht. So he ordered Roman and Pedro to throw the drug package overboard. Hearing this, Roman and Pedro refused Bradley's instructions and they argued.
Dump, we'll pick them up later.
Long story short, Bradley finally parted ways with Roman and Pedro. However, by the time they reached the car park area at the pier, the police had surrounded Roman and Pedro, and a shootout ensued. Seeing the incident from afar, Bradley walked quickly back to the yacht. Unfortunately, on the way, he ran into a policeman who asked him to help them. Bradley had to think fast to avoid being suspected, and he pretended to be a civilian by helping the police. Then, he shot Roman and Pedro. Pedro died in the shootout, and Bradley was captured by the police and taken into custody. At the police station, Bradley was interrogated by a detective. The detective learned that Bradley was a smart person who could deceive others. However, the police were not stupid.
And I know what the sentence is going to be.
Eventually his trial was held and the court sentenced him to 7 years in prison for murder and illegal possession of weapons.
This hearing has come to its lawful conclusion.
After sentencing, he was sent to prison on a prison bus. Upon arrival at the prison, Bradley underwent a physical examination.
Next.
Then the prison warden asked all inmates to remove all objects on their bodies, followed by a medical examination at the clinic. After that, he was escorted to his cell on the top floor by an old man named Lefty. When Bradley arrived at his cell, he met a prison warden named Andre. Andre explained the rules for prisoners while in prison. One of the rules is that all prisoners must come out and stand in front of their cells to be recorded when the bell rings. Night fell and the bell rang, so the prisoners immediately stood in front of their respective cells and were inspected by the prison warden. When all the inmates upstairs were standing in front of their cells, Bradley was still fast asleep, and the inmates had to wait until he woke up. Not long after, Bradley woke up and was reprimanded by the prison warden. He was asked to be more disciplined and obey the prison rules. Meanwhile, at Bradley's residence, Lauren, who was sleeping, suddenly found an intruder who broke into her house and shot her with a stun gun. Lauren then faints and is taken by her captor to a mysterious place. The next day in prison, Bradley is asked to meet prison staff in his office. The staff named Denise, who told him that an obstetrician wanted to see him. It turns out that the doctor is his wife's gynecologist. The doctor wanted to discuss the complications Lauren was having with her pregnancy. Bradley meets Dr. Pellman the next day in the prison reception room. Dr. Pellman turns out to be Eliezer's henchman who came to the prison to tell him that his boss lost $3.2 million on a failed drug deal that day. Then, he shows a photo of Lauren sitting in a chair with her eyes closed and hands tied. Dr. Pellman threatens to abort Lauren's pregnancy if Bradley does not comply with Eliezer's wishes. Eventually, they reached an agreement. Bradley was asked to make amends by killing an inmate named Christopher Bridge, who was sentenced to life. The inmates were in a different prison, cell block 99.
That you have to be transferred. Christopher Bridge.
After finishing talking to his guests, Bradley was escorted by the prison warden back to his cell. Before entering his cell, he suddenly took off his shoes and started beating Andre with them. A fight ensued. Bradley deliberately provokes a scene so that he can be transferred to cell block 99 at Redleaf, where the prison area is a separate prison with maximum security. Bradley defeated Andre easily. However, some of Andre's colleagues arrived and managed to arrest him. Bradley again attacked some prison guards on his way to the cell, and a fight ensued. Bradley did this because he felt that the trouble he made was not enough to be transferred to the Redleaf area. At the end of the fight, he was electrocuted by one of the prison guards and he was transferred to Redleaf Prison. His wish was granted. When Bradley arrived at Redleaf Prison, he was greeted by the warden. The warden warned that Redleaf Prison was a maximum security prison where the chances of being released were slim.
Will get smaller.
I do, sir.
Give Mr. Thomas a full cavity inspection.
After a physical examination, Bradley was then escorted to cell number 59. Arriving at the cell, he was surprised to see that the cell room conditions were different from the previous prison. The cell now looked dirty, dark and smelly. The cell room, which was attached to an open toilet, was filled with the feces of the previous prisoners. He could not stand the stench and took off his shirt to cover his nose. After lying in his cell for a long time, Bradley was approached by officers who took him outside for 60 minutes of fresh air. When he reached the prison yard, he was approached by a young inmate named Derek. Bradley then asked Derek if he knew a prisoner named Christopher Bridge. However, Derek claimed not to know a prisoner by that name. A moment later, Bradley approached several inmates who were exercising. Although Derek had forbidden him to approach the prisoners, he still harassed them. A fight was inevitable. One by one, the prisoners fell. Not long after, the prison guard fired a warning shot. Once again, Bradley attacked the officer. Finally, he was paralyzed and immediately taken to the cell block 99 area blindfolded. Arriving at cell block 99, Bradley's blindfold was removed and he saw that cell block 99 was very isolated and located underground.
For the next month, you'll wear this. Each time you misbehave,
Before entering the cell, he wore an electric jacket. Upon entering the cell, he saw a lot of broken glass scattered on the cell floor. Meanwhile, Lauren looked very weak due to being kept in a hidden place. Dr. Pellman was also in the place where Lauren was kept with a man from Korea who was an abortion doctor. However, they haven't performed an abortion on Lauren, but only a preliminary examination. The scene switches back to the prison. Bradley, who is lying limp in his cell, starts shouting the name Christopher Bridge. Then the inmate next door replies that there is no inmate named Christopher Bridge. It is not long before the prison guards come to tase him until he limps away. Then the warden told Bradley that some inmates wanted to see him. Bradley was taken to the basement to meet the prisoners. It turned out that when he met the prisoners, one of them was Eliezer.
Your heroics cost me $3.2 million.
Bradley then learned that Dr. Pellman's request to kill Christopher Bridges was a ruse so that Bradley could be transferred to cell block 99 and Eliezer could torture him. Eliezer said angrily that he had lost $3.2 million. In addition, because of Bradley's actions, he was thrown into prison and his sister had to become a widow because she killed her husband, Pedro, during a shootout at the docks. Bradley was tortured continuously until he was weak. He was then shown a picture of his wife, Lauren, who also lay limp and helpless. After the torture, Bradley was dragged into his cell.
You want to eat something?
Bradley returned to the holding cell where Eliezer was and attacked his men.
Get in.
One by one, Eliezer's men fell and only Eliezer remained in the cell. Bradley then strangles Eliezer and asks him to send a message to Dr. Pellman to cancel his wife's abortion. He also asked them to bring Lauren to Gil's house. Bradley's request was granted after he broke Eliezer's leg.
Call off your guy.
Phone call. 777.
Arriving at Gil's residence, Lauren ran straight to him. After that, Gil shot Dr. Pellman and the abortion doctor from a distance with a long gun, killing them.
Good.
While in prison, after receiving news that his wife survived via cell phone, Bradley then gave a final message and asked his wife to put the cell phone to her stomach so that the baby she was carrying could hear the message he was about to convey. He hoped the baby would grow up healthy and smart. Bradley looked very sad because he knew he would never see his child.
We want to come see you. When can we come see you?
I love you too.
After hanging up, he returned to Eliezer's cell room and attacked him until his head fell off. Then the prison warden came and fired a bullet into Bradley's head until he died.